Alright, YouTube, another round of leaks have been volleyed out from Wikileaks. Julian Assange is clearly enraged that Clinton wanted to have him killed, and he's decided to take a little bit of action. This is just another leak from the Podesta emails, by the way. And it's more, as Assange claimed they would be, they're getting worse. This round is more damaging than the first. The real gem of the first round of releases a few days ago was really the highlights of Clinton's Goldman speeches as sort of highlighted by John Podesta, specifically telling her, oh, well, these are things you probably shouldn't bring up because they're damaging. That's a big one, and Trump exploited this at the debate. Now, first, an aside. I caught this. WikiLeaks, obviously, has tweeted about this. Hillary Clinton may not realize this, but she actually confirmed the validity of the WikiLeaks dumps at the debate. She actually, unlike Tim Kaine said, oh, I don't know, maybe this isn't even real. Oh, you'd have to ask Miss Clinton. Well, she's basically confirmed that they're legit because she's saying they're stolen, the Russians did it. At this point, Hillary Clinton has become a conspiracy theorist. I don't think that a lot of Democrats, or I should say a lot of Clinton voters, realize she's getting perilously close to being a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist on the Russian issue. She apparently believes that they're responsible for literally every criticism of her campaign. Every whistleblower, every leaker is somehow in league with communists or something. Number two, looking both at her emails and even her public statements that are, avowed at her rallies and stuff, she's also the pro-war candidate. She wants to start at least another Cold War with Russia. She's talking about dangerous no-fly maneuvers in Syria that would probably lead to an escalation there. And I don't think people realize this. Now, this new dump coming on the heels of Bill Clinton being brought up includes such gems as Clinton insiders calling Chelsea Clinton a spoiled brat who doesn't have any focus, doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. So that's pretty funny. I don't know whether that really moves the dimensions of the race at all, but it is funny to see people that are working directly with the Clinton campaign saying such things. Number two, that Bill should be kept out of the public eye as much as possible because of his sexual behaviors, which, that'd be a sensible thing to do. Now, the email takes a conciliatory tone here and says, well, I personally like Bill, and I think he's great and so forth, and I think it's regrettable, but at the same time, because this issue keeps coming up, there's no other choice, apparently. We also then learned that Bubba Bill's sexual behaviors almost caused a suicide, specifically because one of these people working with this campaign was going to throw themselves off a bridge and had to be literally talked down and constantly has to apparently talk to a psychotherapist because Bubba Bill's sexual behavior causes so much stress in the workplace and so forth. And that's just a small sampling of what's in these emails. WikiLeaks spent 2 days analyzing its own first email dump and dropping snippets. So I think at least for the rest of today, they're probably going to release more little tidbits. I don't have the time to dig through thousands of emails, but if the first round, which was damaging enough, and this round, which is a little bit more damaging, are the mild end of the spectrum of what's in the Podesta leaks alone, let alone if they have some other materials not involved with Podesta in some way. If this is the mild end, and we're going to get more leaks in time throughout this election, it's not looking good for the Clinton campaign. This has always been the ace up the sleeve of Trump's side of the campaign. Number two, I'd point out, there's also other news today. It looks like James O'Keefe may have another video that he actually plans to release before the tape of Clinton apparently disparaging black individuals. It looks like he also has something involving Bill Clinton and sexual assault or something along those lines. I imagine it could very well be something along the lines of a taped conversation of Bill Clinton discussing his sexual habits or the Lewinsky scandal or Paula Jones or something along those lines. But I'd like to point something else out, and I'll make a short video on this topic too. Yes, it does indeed look like CNN was coaching its focus group. In which case, that explains why of all of the polls, including the snap polls, the only one showing a substantial win for Clinton is the CNN snap poll. The YouGov snap poll showed basically a dead heat. Several of, I believe it was NBC, showed basically a dead heat. I think Clinton was up like 2 or 3 points in that one. Then you have this CNN poll showing her at 59 versus, I think, 38. I don't fucking think so. I think they did coach their people there. And I think they did that specifically because they feel absolutely hate-filled towards Trump for attacking Anderson Cooper. I think that's why. If you look at the online polls, it tells a different story. If I look anywhere, even if I look at like Being Liberal and Salon right now, I'm seeing a lot of people, including people that I've seen before in the commenting areas defending Clinton, saying, well, Trump won fair and square. These are people that are Clinton fans admitting, yes, he completely thrashed her during the debate. Because as I pointed out, some of the softer Clinton supporters, they're not on board with her campaign because they think she has a great grasp on issues. The fact that she tried to spend her time talking about all of her wonderful plans that'll never happen ceases to have any meaning when you understand that she also, and she fell completely flat trying to deflect on this, which is another problem for her at the second debate. Specifically, the idea of having a public versus a private opinion about issues. She attempted to say that that had to do with her watching a film on Abraham Lincoln. I don't think anybody in this country, including her most diehard fans, her paid staff, everybody connected with her campaign, probably her own fucking family, I don't think anybody believes that, even remotely. And the crowd didn't believe it either. They booed her openly. Now, think about this. At any time did Clinton get booed at the first debate? No. Has Clinton been booed at any of her rallies other than by maybe a couple of hecklers? No. Mostly people are either ambivalent to what she's saying, they're sort of tuning her out because she's boring, or they're in support of it, they're her fans. This is the first time that this has happened on the campaign trail, and it doesn't look good for her. That may end up being the one comment that destroys her campaign. I saw Business Insider released a poll, or spoke of a poll from NBC showing, oh, Clinton has surged to a double-digit lead nationally. Several problems with this. Number one, it doesn't take into consideration the debate, which I think, in my opinion, is going to do far more damage to the Clinton campaign than people right now wish was going to be the case, if they support Clinton, of course. That's number one. It comes before that. Number two, it's NBC, and it's a single poll. We could consider that to be a likely outlier. They have leaned heavily towards Clinton. It's like looking at the LA Times tracking. Well, they've leaned towards Trump fairly heavily throughout the entire campaign. It's probably an outlier polling methodology. So it may be worth ignoring. Number three, it hasn't been aggregated or corroborated with any other polling from the same period. So it's worthless. And Business Insider's done this 5 different times. They also did it when Trump was up. Oh, Trump is now up by 5. No, he wasn't. He wasn't up by 5 points. He's up by a point or two at his peak there. Now Clinton's, again, she's up by maybe 4 or 5 points. And that's not taking into consideration this debate at which she and Bubba Bill were both completely hammered. People right now, as we speak, are still Googling Hillary Clinton's rape defense involving the 12-year-old who was there at the debate for good measure and who appeared with Trump before the debate at his little presser there. That completely defanged her ability. You could tell Clinton wanted to go after Trump more on his sexual comments. Did she end up doing that, or did she only use it as a response when attacked? The latter. Why? Because she knew if she attacked him first, he was going to bring up Bill, and she was hoping he wouldn't bring up Bill. But he did. And if you look at the picture of Bill Clinton and his reaction, the look on his face, you can tell that he's very, very nervous about what the fallout from this may be. Trump destroyed her at the debate. It seems like the little people, as opposed to the apparently coached snap polling audiences, largely agree with that. I am now considering whether there is enough systemic bias in the media to begin ignoring much of what they're saying. Because of the extremely polarized climate, and especially because Trump is attacking the media, it's in their best interest to attack him back. Now, is it a sign of unfairness and dishonesty? Yes, of course it is. But it is tit for tat. I will give them that. When CNN attempts to thwart Donald Trump, they're partially doing that because he spent months attacking CNN. They may have deserved it. I would agree with that. But they are going to defend themselves against attacks just as he will, which is what he did in the first place. He's now at war with the media. He's at war with the Clinton campaign. He's at war increasingly with certain congressional Republicans, Paul Ryan being the foremost of them. Paul Ryan, of course, has said he's not going to campaign or defend Trump, which is going to be funny, because I don't think having Paul Ryan aboard, considering Romney's showing in 2012, would be an advantage anyway. Honestly, Trump's campaign is probably better off without all the dead weight of the pro-war neocons, who really, they're basically Hillary Clinton with R's after their name. I don't think it's a problem for him. He lacked all support during the primaries and won those. Independent voters, do you think that an undecided voter cares if Paul Ryan has endorsed him? No, they probably see it as a net positive that all the Bushes are going over the Clinton campaign. It's actually rather funny. The American people aren't so blind that they don't understand what's happening right now. Donald Trump wants to reform the corporate tax code, which would cause their donors to lose so much money that their party would have to actually compete with third parties. That's what they're scared of. So yeah, I'll be voting for Trump. And no, I don't care that he said sexist things a decade ago. I don't care if he said racist things a decade ago, and there's supposedly a tape of that. There's also supposedly a tape of Clinton saying the same thing. I don't care. For that reason alone, the fact that the media and increasingly the Republicans, look at it this way. I don't like either party. I don't like the Republican Party. I don't like the Democratic Party. Both of them seem now on board with the Clinton campaign. Both of the parties that I hate, that I see as traitors to the United States, that I see as denigrating the Constitution, are supporting the same candidate. So there's no possibility of me supporting her. Both of them in turn are either ignoring or attacking the other candidate. Well, then I have to assume that it's a winning ticket if they hate him that much. When the Bushes and the Clintons and the Romneys and McCains and the Blumenthals and Soroses and the Glenn Becks and all of those people in the world all agree that one candidate shouldn't be elected, it's probably the candidate I want, honestly. Yeah, so I'd just say that. And I do, by the way, I expect with all the scandals and accusations flying around, third-party membership's not going to decline towards the end of the election. Johnson will almost certainly crack 10. He'll probably crack 15. Which means that the next election around, hopefully they have somebody more able than Gary Johnson, because the Libertarians are going to be in the debates. The Libertarians are going to get funding. The Libertarians are going to be on every ballot. And largely, Clinton is responsible for this. If this were a standard campaign, if she weren't constantly blaming the Russians and lying and doing all sorts of crazy things, then she probably would be winning right now by a fairly good margin. If the Republicans had bothered to solidify behind their candidate in a partisan sense, oddly enough, if they had gone full corruption mode, he would be handily defeating her already, and this problem wouldn't have been caused. But now, because the two parties have jumped aboard with one candidate and abandoned the other candidate may win anyway, and they get ass-blasted back to the Stone Age. We could see the end of the Republican and Democratic parties in a single election cycle. Good riddance. I mean, the world's better off without them, really. The Democrats and Republicans are both vestigial. They have terrible old ideas that date back, several decades. They're neocons, neolibs. They take the corporate and banker cash. They've destroyed our economy. They've caused innumerable wars. They've decreased our standing around the world. I don't have any love for the Republicans. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care who wins the House and Senate. The Democratic and Republican partisans may care. I don't. Most of these people are worthless. Rand Paul is the smartest person in Congress right now. Other than him and Amash and a very small handful of other people, there are no people in Congress that deserve to even be reelected. And most of their challengers are hardly better. So yeah, we got a new Wikileaks dump. And it's more damaging than it was before. We've got Chelsea Clinton and Bill Clinton profiled. We've also, in the Clinton email, funnily enough, it's basically an admission, yeah, he sleeps around, he fucking goes off and does his perverted shit, and it's causing stress to people around him who have to deal with the fallout, because he can't keep it in his pants. It's basically corroborating what, oddly enough, Trump says, which is, yeah, Bill Clinton's raping people, he's sexually assaulting people. All I did was brag about all my sexual exploits that, by the way, I'll say this. No, I don't think that Trump has had quite as much experience as he claims. I think it was bragging. And again, a drunken frat boy fashion. No, it's not great. And he's right to apologize for it. It's certainly not the sort of thing that you say if you're, maybe a more reasonable individual. But he is correct there. We have no evidence that Donald Trump has actually physically followed through with the more voracious things that he's talking about doing. But we do have a hell of a lot of people who have come forth to say that Bill Clinton did, and that he was in a position to shut them up either by paying them off or threatening them. And I believe it. Yeah. Watching the way he acts, I believe it. Trump, honestly, looked a little bit awkward on the debate stage. His imposing sort of pacing stuff, it was meant to put Hillary off her guard, and I think it, by the way, worked. But it does look a little bit odd in some of the shots. It depends on which network, by the way, you're watching, who they were focusing on with the cameras. I can't remember which feed I was watching, but for some reason, when Trump was talking, the other camera kept pointing at Hillary's face and then rapidly zooming in until she was like half pixelated. And it was very, very odd to see like Hillary's giant up-close face in one frame and then Trump is talking in the other. It was very weird. I don't know what the camera people were doing, and there was a brief period where it like blacked out for like 3 seconds. I don't know what they were fucking doing, honestly, to tell the truth. So yeah, I'll be talking a little bit about CNN's totally unbiased polling group. Oh, yeah, that's going to be big news, but Drudge has already covered it. Could be the MSM will be forced kicking and screaming to cover it. I'm sure CNN will say, oh, it wasn't coaching, it wasn't anything wrong. Well, it's on tape, kind of hard for you to suggest that it's a Russian conspiracy. That's about all. Peace out.